Hello and welcome to this meeting with advocates on research data management from Nigeria. We're very happy to have Basiru and his colleagues with us today, whom he'll introduce. And a little bit of background, we have our monthly meetings of open science trainers, and we were talking about training and support on research data management. And Basiru mentioned that training and support are important, but you also need to do some advocacy even before you start providing training or support, raising awareness, and also ensuring that research data management is embedded in institutional policies and practices. And Basiru mentioned Lipson's initiative of early career researchers that are driving research data management advocacy in Nigeria. And this initiative also includes librarians. And they together developed institutional policies on research data management and also national strategies. And Milica and I thought that it would be excellent to learn more from our colleagues in Nigeria. So over to you, Basiru, and other colleagues, and thanks a lot for your willingness to share how you work.
Thank you so much, Ayana. I'm Dr. Adetomiwa Basiru. I currently work with the Redeemers University at the Osun State as a faculty librarian, scholarly communication. So, talking about the RDM advocate in Nigeria. So, we are a group of early career researchers deputed to further develop and implement a set of coordinated activities to inform research data management and research ethics practices in Nigerian institutions. So the group is in collaboration with the Association of University Librarians of Nigerian Universities and the Lipson's network of experts. So we have been able to come out with several output, such as new common repository metadata schema, and also a call to action on assessment system and work plans derived from a recent research data management workshop. So we presented these outputs at the priority setting leadership engagement meetings in Lagos and Abuja in Nigeria. So we have our RDM priority areas. So we have RDM practices. So we focus on activities that involve in the planning, organization, storage, preservation, archiving, and sharing of data created during a research project. So we have research ethics, governance structures, institutional, interinstitutional, national, and international policy and collaboration. We also have capacity building, where we strengthen the skills and knowledge base of individuals tasked with carrying out the governance activities related to research ethics and RDM policy. Also, we have the research infrastructure, which is refers to the hardware, software, platform, processes, roles, and services which are integrated into the social and technical ways to provide support to the implementation of research ethics and RDM. So we have our groups cut across various institutions in Nigeria. So because of our priority areas, we within our group we still have a sub group. So for us to focus some of these areas. So within our subgroup we have research data management, we have research assessment, then we have also people that focus on diamond open access programs. And you recall that recently we also contributed to the reports. So because of one of us, we I hand over to one of us who go in details, who present majorly on the RDM activities, some of the things we have done. She will also present some of the surveys, some of the things we have done in Nigeria, how we'll be able to come up with some of these research data plans. So she's also on this call. Her name is Dr. Fatimah Abduldayan. So Dr. Fatimah Abduldayan, you have the floor. She will also introduce properly all the group members that are all also on this call. Dr. Fatimah, you have the call. You have the floor.
Wait, I don't see Dr. Fatimah among the participants.
Let me see. Maybe she's having a network. Maybe she's having a
network issues.
She's having network issues. Although most of the group members on this call, I can see Dr. Sophia Adeyeye. I can see Madam Mrs. Obim. I can see Dr. Tawa Ajayi. Probably I will tell them to introduce themselves while we are waiting for Dr. Fatimah Abduldayan, and also one of them will help me to call her to join the call. So I will start by introducing Dr. Sophia Adeyeye for a brief introduction. Dr. Sophia Adeyeye, can you please introduce yourself?
Dr. Fatimah has joined.
Oh, she has joined?
Yes,
yes.
So let us do it. Okay.
Oh, okay. Now, while we are waiting for Dr. Fatima to before she go on with her presentation, probably all the group members on this call should please introduce themselves, their affiliation, before we hand over to Dr. Fatima. Dr. Sophia Adeyeye, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning, everybody. I'm Sophia Adeyeye. I teach in the library school at Lee City University, Ibadan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Taiwo Ajayi. Dr. Taiwo Ajayi. Dr. Taiwo Ajayi.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Taiwo Ajayi. I'm a Religious Service Librarian. I work with the Lagos State University of Science and Technology. Thank you.
Dr. Sophia Adeyeye, she also double as the chairman of Nigerian Library Association, Oyo State chapter. Same thing with Dr. Taiwo Ajayi. She's also the chairperson of Nigerian Library Association, Lagos State chapter. Dr. Sadiat Adetoro, can you please introduce yourself, please?
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Sadiat Adetoro Salau is my name. I work with Federal University of Technology, Minna, as a research support librarian. I also teach at postgraduate level at the library school. I'm the team lead for the group on research assessment reform. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sadiat. Mrs. Benedita Uchendu.
Good morning, everybody. I am Mrs. Benedicta Uchendu. I work with Ignatius Ajuru University of Education Library. I am the e-librarian, and I also teach in the Department of Library and Information Science of the university. And I am also a member of this team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Uchendu. Mrs. Ify Obim.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Ify Obim. I'm a lecturer at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. I'm also the financial secretary to NLA IT section here in Nigeria. I'm a member of the RDM, that's Research Data Management team. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Other members of the team will be introduced at the course of this presentation. So at this point, I would like to introduce Dr. Fatimah Abduldayan, who will take us through some of the things we have been doing, some of the plans, how we'll be able to come up with the RDL plans. So Dr. Abduldayan she's a lecturer in the Department of Library and Information Science from Federal University of Minna. She's also doubles as the chairman. You can see we are looking at who we have: the chairperson. She's also the chairperson of the Nigerian Library Association, Niger State chapter. Dr. Abduldayan, you are welcome. You have the floor.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Good morning. My name is Fatimah Abduldayan from the Department of Library and Information Science, Federal University of Technology, Minna. I'm the team lead for the Research Data Management group, and I'm also the chairperson of the Nigerian Library Association, Niger State chapter. And then I will be sharing some few slides with us to tell us about our activities across campuses at national level, institutional level in Nigeria. So please permit me to quickly share my screen. Please, can we see my screen?
Yes, but
yes,
not in the presentation mode yet.
Yeah, I'm doing that now.
Okay.
Can we see it now?
Yes, thank you.
Arena, is it good?
Yes, very good, thank you.
Okay. So we are LipSense ECR early career researchers from Nigeria, and we'll be sharing our activities on open science advocacy and capacity building in Nigeria. From my first slide, you can see that WACREN, it's West and Central Africa Research Education Network, is the like the father of what we're doing. We got involved in this program through WACREN, and then that was at the one of their workshops in Nigeria last year, specifically in Abuja, on a research data management capacity building. And we're part of the activities, the planning and the activities from the start. And we worked closely with Mr. Omo Oaya and Dr. Pamela Abbott from the University of Sheffield, and that's under the LipSense. And then from that workshop, we decided to put ourselves together with the support of LipSense and the WACREN, of course, to start conversations on our various campuses on open science, capacity building, and some other priority areas, which I'm going to share with you shortly. So as a way of introduction, the RDM Advocacy Group is simply a group of early career researchers from various academic institutions in Nigeria who are very passionate about developing and implementing a coordinated set of activities to inform RDM policy, research ethic practices, open access, and research assessment reforms in Nigerian institutions. And then recently, the group have grown to be known as the LipSense Open Science Nigeria. You've met my group members, my colleague. We've been working together for the past 2 years now, and they introduced themselves earlier, but some of us are not on the call, so I'm just going to take it quickly. We have myself and Dr. Sadiat Adetoro from the Federal University of Technology, Minna, then Dr. Basiru Adetomiwa from Redeemers University, Dr. Sophia Adeyeye from the Lead City University, Mrs Ify Obim from University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Mrs. Benedicta Uchendu from the Ignatius Ajuri University of Education, Port Harcourt, Dr. Taiwo Ajayi from the Lagos State University of Science and Technology, and then we also have Dr. Opeyemi Kodri. She's not on the call at the moment. She's from Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, and then Mrs. T.Y. Dang from the University of Lagos. Now, these
Yes.
are our priority areas that we are championing advocacy and discussions on our various campuses in Nigeria. We're championing discussions on research data management policy, both at national and institutional level, Diamond Open Access Publishing, responsible research assessment reforms, capacity building on open science infrastructure, research infrastructure ethics, and open science governance structure. We believe that these priority areas will help, to entrench a better RDM practices among researchers in our campus, and to also improve patronage of Diamond Open Access Publishing, and to help our researchers to understand better what open access means, and to clear the myths around open access and other issue. And then the foremost, one of the key discussions that the group is also championing is the research assessment reforms and the need for assessment and promotion criteria to shift from quantity, but rather to quality. And we are seeing how we can affect policies around that area, to change the mindset of university administrators, from tying assessment to quantity metrics that are not really in our best interest. And that's for the discussion on research assessment reforms. And then we're doing a lot of capacity building, on the use of open access research infrastructure, and how we can use it to enhance our visibility and then to improve our research practices on campus. Ethics is also at the core of the activities that we do. Ethics around research, ethics around ethical conduct, policies that can help to inform ethical conduct of research, and then the governance structure that can help us to entrench open science, practices on our campus in terms of discussions with vice chancellors, with the research management offices, the research and development offices, and other governance structure that supports a sustainable implementation, of open science on our campuses. So I'll take you through our activity contributions at the national level. Now, our group, that's the LipSense Nigeria group, we've been collaborating with the Association of University Librarians in Nigerian universities, as ONU, of course, with the help of LipSense, and then the Committee of Vice Chancellors in Nigerian universities as well, and the LipSense network of experts. And we've been able to come up with several outputs, which you can access via these links that are embedded in our slides. We have a new common repository metadata schema. And then what we hope to achieve with this is to see how we can have a unified metadata, that would enhance access and retrieval of content on our institutional repository. And so we came up with a metadata schema that we hope that institutions would adopt, to enhance easy access and to ensure that there's better communications among machines. That's the institutional repositories, across institutions. What we have now is a university using, giving a different meaning to a particular metadata, another university describing a content in another way. So when users comes to retrieve, it becomes a little difficult. And it's also affecting the interoperability of machines, that would enhance access to the content in the repository. And number two, we, at the end of a workshop that we had recently in Abuja, there was a call to action on assessment systems, research assessment systems, and the presentation was on the different ways that universities outside Nigeria are coming up with another way of assessing their research, and the need for us in Nigeria to also understand and come up with a reform on our research assessment system. So there was an interesting conversation in that area, and we are also moving forward and ensuring that there's a better assessment, research assessment systems on campuses. Number three is our work plans and policy directions that came out of a research data management workshop in Nigeria and another one in Ghana. And that hyperlink will lead you to some of the outputs that was generated at that workshop. Individual group were asked to come up with policy actions that can inform better research data management at the national level, institutional level, and even international level. You know, we try to see what happens around our DM policies across the continent and how we can adapt it to suit our situation in Africa. Then we have a national report on Diamond Open Access. This was in conjunction with Irina from IFO, where we try to do a kind of a national report on the availability of journals that are complying to Diamond Open Access in Nigeria for the year. And then the reports can be accessed from that hyperlink. And then all these outputs are presented at various priority setting leadership engagement meetings in Lagos, in Abuja, in Port Harcourt, and in Ghana. Now, then recently, still on our contribution at the national level, when Dr. Tomiwa Basiru was introducing us, you heard him saying chairperson NLA, chairperson NLA. So NLA means the Nigerian Library Association. It's a national association for librarians in Nigeria, just like we have association at the regional level. That's the AFLIA, African Library Association and Institutions. And then we have at international level, that's IFLA. So for the NLA, Nigerian level Library Association, we had a conference recently in Port Harcourt, Rivers State specifically, where the group, that's the LibSense ECR group, were able to co-locate an event on open science and engagement alongside the national conference, where we had an interesting engagement with librarians and we're able to discuss the importance of championing open science practices, research data management, and other issues around open access by librarians on our various campuses. We got support from the American space, from data side. Of course, LibSense all know. They all supported us with materials, you know, to enhance the workshop. And the outing was quite interesting because we're able to engage librarians from all over Nigeria, and then we discuss the importance of open science, RDM, research assessment, reforms, Diamond Open Access publishing, and all that. We also give tips on how they can kickstart conversations, activities, capacity building around that area. These are some of the LibSense open science groups that were on ground at the conference. Now, our contributions at our various campuses, like I mentioned earlier, we are from different institutions covering the entire geopolitical zones in Nigeria, and then we all have our different contributions. But then before I move further, at some point, we conducted a survey on perception of librarians on open science, and the survey result was actually shared at the national conference in Port Harcourt, because we felt that we need to gauge, to understand level of awareness of the concept of open science and then the various aspects of open science. Let us understand perception of librarians, and then the results actually informed our discussion and our outing at the conference in Port Harcourt. But then interestingly, when we asked librarians in Nigeria on their level of awareness on the different aspects of open science, like open access, open data, the available open research infrastructure, open access publishing, research assessment reforms, their perception on it, and then open educational resources, OER, we discovered that the awareness of open access is actually on the increase.
Is this me or did we lose Dr. Fatimah?
I think we have lost her.
So
Dr. Fatimah. Dr. Fatimah.
maybe give her a minute.
Okay.
For connection.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it was obvious from the slides.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. So probably while we are waiting for Dr. Fatimah, we maybe probably has used this opportunity to also invite Dr. Sadiat Adetoro to just talk briefly on research assessment. She will also discuss briefly on our the RDM Advocates Nigerian work plan, the work plan we came up with. So maybe we have Dr. Sadiat now, although she's not presenting a slide, but she will just speak to some of the research assessments, some of the things we have done, some of our plan. Then she will discuss the RDM work plan while we are waiting for Dr. Fatimah. Dr. Sadiat, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Dr. Adetomiwa.
Hello, sorry, I'm back. Can you hear me?
She's back. Oh, she's back. Oh, she's back. We are welcome.
Hello.
You are welcome. You are welcome. You have the floor. Continue.
Hello,
Dr.
can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Dr. Fatimah. Continue.
Hello.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Continue.
We can hear you.
Continue.
I think you're now muted, Dr. Fatimah. We can't see your screen. We go back to our original plan where Dr. Sadiat could share some of her activities while Dr. Fatimah is restoring her connection.
Okay, all right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Once again. While we wait for Dr. Fatimah, I would like to speak briefly about research assessment reforms and the role it plays in entrenching open science practices. So the group understands that for open science practices to be entrenched, the top-bottom approach is necessary and the bottom-top approach is also necessary. So based on feedback on the RDM workshops that have been held, we realized that a lot of reasons why the top-bottom, now lecturers, faculty members may not be open to the open science practices. It's hinged around the fact that it is not part of our research assessment. So people normally will be moved to have or be involved in open science practices because it's part of what they would be assessed by, so something as simple as it doesn't matter if you publish your researches openly, it doesn't matter where you publish it, like if it's opened or closed, it doesn't matter during a research assessment reform. So if that doesn't matter, why would I have to look for money to pay exorbitant amount of money to publish my article open? I was speaking with a professor, he was actually looking for a journal where he would not pay article publishing charge. And I told him, sir, if you're not paying article publishing charge, the reader has to pay to read your article. He said, that is not my business. I want to get my article published. And the university will recognize me for that. So why do I care about the user? So we found that research assessment reform is at the crux of open science. And so it became a very important issue. Based on the feedback, like I said, from the top-bottom approach, we realized there was a presentation in Abuja with Lipsense had that workshop. So we had top management there. We had a top leadership, rather, librarians, university librarians, and some deputy vice chancellors. So a presentation was made about shaping open access practices through research assessment reform. And it was not, the presentation didn't go as expected. And this is because research assessment as it is what many have known. So you have the top guys, the late career researchers that are already entrenched in this. Okay, we are publishing in the commercial journals that are giving us reputation and prestige. And you also have the early career researchers that are trying to build up their career based on what is already there existing. So now coming up with research assessment reform to say, no, the world is moving away from this. In fact, the presentation showed examples of global research assessment reforms, yet it was a very new, of course, it wasn't widely accepted. So the next approach is to take it from top bottom now, to talk to university leadership and also librarians, and to talk to the academic community. So we have the National Academy of Science of Letters to help them see an overview of global research assessment reform, how the world is moving away from what is already existing as per tenure and promotion assessment, to see how these practices are improving open science practices, improving research integrity, improving research ethics. Because of course, research assessment as it is, because the focus is on quantity, that quantity is making research vulnerable to a lot of malpractices. So the university leadership we want to talk to them for them to see some of the unintended consequences or unintended outcomes of the present research assessment as it is. So talking to them, making them understand will enable them look at, it is hoped that it will enable them look at research assessment at the various institutions and see how some of the practices they're having. So for instance, we have universities that are actually incentivizing publishing in commercial publishing houses, like I said, and that's what informed why that professor was actually looking for, I want to publish there so that I'll be recognized by the university. So I want to let university leadership understand how some of these practices are not enabling open science practices, which is what the world is moving towards now. So that workshop is expected to hold next week, and we'll also get feedback. Now we'll have feedback from, we've had feedback from top and bottom top. We also want feedback from top bottom to see our next line of action, to see how we take this advocacy down to our various campuses. So these are some of the activities we have been doing around research assessment reform. And of course, because it's also a priority area under the RDM work plan. And I say this because research data too is also something very new. Not new because some of the disciplines actually do that. But it is not a priority. You know, as a postgraduate student, you're not required to submit your research data. As a researcher, you're not expected to submit your research data as part of any form of assessment. Nobody wants to do that extra. You're not recognized for that. So we can always, and of course, we always talk about the fact that, okay, it is ethical, it encourages research practices. But contextually, we're coming to understand that we have to, first of all, look at it from the lens of assessment. That when the culture is imbibed and they see the importance of RDM practices, they would continue. And we can liken that to how repositories too emerged in Nigeria, or how it was accepted. And initially, when we were, as librarians, we were talking about telling the researchers and faculty members, okay, upload to the repositories, but it was extra work for them because nobody was checking anything on the repositories. So when the university leaderships now required that research outputs are uploaded on repositories, they were forced. Now we had researchers having to upload their publications on the repositories. Now we have researchers telling us, oh, our publication on the repository has so and so citations. We have been telling you this, but you were not listening. But when it was part of research assessment report, they were forced to do, and now they're seeing the advantage, and the culture of uploading to the repository has come to stay. So the same approach will be used for RDM practices and also Diamond Open Access practice. Thank you very much. I think these are all I have to say. Thank you. I hope Dr. Fatimah is back on the call.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Very useful.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sadiat. I think Dr. Fatimah is back. Dr. Fatimah, can you please continue? We're happy to have you back. Dr. Fatimah. Dr. Fatimah, can you please continue your presentation so that we can go to Q&A? Dr. Fatimah? Dr. Fatimah, can you please unmute and continue your presentation?
I'm afraid we lost her again.
Oh,
I don't see
and
her.
she's online.
I think she
Have the network issue. Dr. Fatimah? Dr. Fatimah, okay. Ayana, I don't know, probably we should go to Q&A. I'll still see if Dr. Fatimah can still rejoin us. Probably we should just go to Q&A. And I don't know if other group members, if they have one or two things to say, then we'll go to Q&A.
Dorothy and Aya wanted to ask a question, so maybe now is the moment to ask it, Dorothy. Please, and you can unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you very much, and thanks so much for the informative presentation. It's really good to know what's happening there and learning a thing or two. My question is on the research metrics. Like, what are you now considering as to be incorporated in the research metrics that's moving away from the usual metrics that we know? So, like, what are you doing, or what areas do you want to focus on? Thank you.
I don't know. Should we take it one after the other?
I'm back.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, please. It's one of the digital divide issues that we are battling in Nigeria. I'm so sorry. I've had to change my location like 3 times. All right. So I stopped at the survey that was conducted recently on perception of librarians, and we observed that open access awareness on open access is quite high, and that's good news for us. But then open access publishing, yes, but research assessment reforms, people are still not understanding. They still need more information, better understanding on why there's a critical need for reform in research assessment area. And then use of open educational resources is also quite low, and then the awareness of open research infrastructure like the ORCID and the use of other open research infrastructure is quite limited. So these are also some of the contributions at our various campuses, specifically at the Lead City University, that is under the under the guide of Dr. Sophia Adeyeye. She through engagement with the university leadership, the university now have a research management office headed by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Research, and then there's now a deployment of institutional repository online, so it's an output from us because it's as a result of our constant engagement meetings with the university leadership that university that have been able to put this in place. And then for Elasus Tech, Unijos ABU Zaria, they've conducted a lot of capacity building, and they increased awareness on the importance of persistent identifiers, specifically the ORCID and data sites, or what it means, what they do, the importance of assigning DOI to content on the repository. They've been championing engagement and activities in that area. Same with Fatimah, Redeemers University, UNN, and Ignatius Ajuru. They've been having back-to-back capacity building for postgraduate students, librarians, faculty members on research data management, open access literature search, open access publishing routes, and the use of open data repository and the institutional repository itself. And then in all our universities, we've been able to see how we can bring to the fore the importance of having an RDM policy and then research ethics policy, and not just having it, but implementing it and ensuring a strict compliance, to research ethics policy and RDM. These are just the pictures of some of the activities from our different universities, from Minna, from Ignatius Ajuru, UNN, ABU Zaria, and the focus is usually on postgraduate student lecturers and the university management. Then recently, there was this part of our discussion on the importance of having implementing the open science policy on our campuses. We've been able to adapt the LibSense Open Science Policy template to support the policy developments on our campuses. And I cited to universities and an educational agency here that our group member have been able to bring to the fore the importance of having a policy to guide the research activity with specific emphasis on research data management. Then we have our website here, libsenserain.africa/en/ECR. And there's a QR code that you can snap, and it will lead you to a curation of our activities over the years. And there are some of the events that we're planning in future. You can also access it there. We are LibSense, we are working closely with LibSense. And like Dr. Sadiat mentioned earlier, there's a workshop in Abuja next week where we are hoping to further discuss the research assessment reforms issues, research data management issues, and Diamond Open Access. We are hoping to share the reports by FO on Diamond Open Access publishing and landscape in Nigeria. We'll share that report, and those that will be in attendance, they are policy leaders, university leadership, from the funders, Nigerian funders specifically, and also the heads of research assessment teams in university, a committee of vice chancellors. We understand that we need to carry these people along in this conversation, because they will be the one to ultimately roll out policies, implement such policies in our campuses. And we're hoping that by the time we start this set of coordinated activities, it would eventually culminate to a national framework that Nigeria can always rely on, to entrench open science practices in Nigeria. And I would also love to mention here that our group is LibSense Nigeria. There's also another group in Ghana that are also doing similar things, activities that we are doing. They are also rolling out activities and discussions, engagement, capacity building in Ghana. So finally, this is the end of my slide. Thank you so much, and sorry for the break in transmission. Thank you very much. Over to you, Charlie, Dr. Basiru.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fatimah Abduldayan. Thank you for your insightful presentation. So I think this introduction we welcome questions. So we're in Q&A. And so this one will also give other group members opportunity to contribute, answer questions. I don't know if Dr. Sadiat is still on this call. I would have loved her to answer the last question on the metrics. That's what are the current metrics being used in Nigeria for research assessment? But I think she's no more on this call. So oh, are you on the call, Dr.
Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Sadiat, okay, go ahead.
Okay, sure. Thank you for that question. Usually, in this part of the world, when research issues around research assessment reforms is discussed, the next question is, what then do we use if we don't use quantitative metrics that we know? And so let me take it up from there. I would agree that quantitative measure of metrics is easier for even assessment committees. So one thing LeapSense did with the group is to join us to the DORA, the Declaration of Research Reforms. We have other global initiatives to see what is happening around research assessment in other institutions, in other countries. And one thing we realized is there's a need to actually contextualize some of these reforms. So not everything that happens, say, in a country must replicate. We have to contextualize it within our country. So the first thing we have done is to do an analysis of the existing research assessment reform in Nigeria to see what some of the practices that will not enable open science be entrenched. So one, and which is very important, is the recognition of not just journals, conference papers, and books, which are the major research outputs in Nigeria that are recognized for research assessment reform. Of course, we have patents, but I think most researchers focus on only these research apps because that is what the concentration is in our policies. So we'll be talking to the leadership about opening up some of these research outputs, especially preprint. Now we have a lot of issue around publishing time because, of course, we're talking quantitative. People want to publish as many articles as possible. So you want to have 80 publications, 90 publications. The publishing time, the time it takes to actually get an article published is taking a long time. So preprints are supposed to be recognized because with preprint, you're putting that publication out for people that want to use it, to use that result before it is finally published. However, it's not accepted in our policies. It's not recognized. It's not recognized. So if you have a preprint, it's just there for your own visibility for people to see. And so people are not paying attention. That is one of the gaps we're looking at. Recognize preprint. Interestingly, we look at funders like Bill and Melinda Gates that for the 2025 policy have included that any research they are funding, the researchers must upload a preprint. They are not also paying for article publishing charges again. So it has to be a preprint. So look at this, and especially for universities that are still quantifying. You have universities that are awarding, giving awards, incentivizing researchers that publish as much as 50, 80 articles in a year. You can see some of the practices that we are having. So letting them understand how this incentivization or these practices are reducing research quality is what we intend to do. So recognizing preprint is one of another metric. And I would like to say this, that we're not saying quantitative metrics should be expunged. No, we're saying focus on quantitative and qualitative now. Because our focus is on quantitative, a lot of malpractice is happening. You understand that we are not taking cognizance of. And so also the focus on the commercial indexing platforms should stop. Because we have seen in recent times that we've been reading about a lot of peer review malpractices, paper mills, even happening within these commercial indexing platforms. Interestingly, these platforms are the, what I would call, what's that word to use? They are the standard in Nigeria, and they have their malpractices. So it's important to show university leadership these malpractices that are happening, driven largely by the quantitative metrics. So even if you're saying go and publish in this, understand that because it's commercial, they want the volume, they are also engaging in a lot of malpractice. So why not? And this is where the Diamond Open Access Publishing report would come in, you know, showing the university leadership, some of the journals that are also doing well within Nigeria. Why don't we fund these journals and let it become standard? After all, whatever journal that we are calling a standard, is standard because of the peer review process. And who are the people that are involved in peer review process? It's still the academic community. So why don't we look at our own journals and also improve the standard and make it the standard and, you know, incentivize and make people publish on these journals. Of course, with funding from the funders are going to be there. We have university-based journals that the funders are funding. Make this standard And this is even important because, like I said, in Nigeria, the funders are also incentivizing the researchers to publish in the commercial platforms that also have research malpractices. So coming up with this, we're now looking at quantitative metrics in addition to qualitative. Another metric that we would have to look at is the collaborative research approach. So in Nigeria, we also realized it's also a gap in the research assessment policies of the universities. So we talk about collaboration, yet the final channel of dissemination of research is very important and may bring down a researcher. So let me give you an instance. So I am a librarian interested in the open science, of course, but how open science can help climate literacy. So let's say I collaborate with climate researchers on how open science can help fight climate issues. And we publish that in a journal of maybe climate literacy. Now, coming to the assessment table, I may not be considered because they think, what would the librarian do with a journal of climate literacy? It is assumed that maybe I know somebody on the editorial board. That is why I'm publishing them. These are also issues that are affecting us, you understand? So some of these metrics may not be applicable in other countries. It is important that you assess, do an overview of the research assessment in your own country to see some of the practices that are not aligning with open science practices, and then include those metrics and let the university leadership understand why these metrics have to be included now so that open science practices can be interesting. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adetoro. I don't know, Arena, I don't know, should we take other questions, or Irina want to take it off from here?
Dr. Fatimah raised her hand.
Okay.
Over to you, Dr. Fatimah.
Then I think
Okay,
before we have someone to raise his hand before Mr. Idowu Adebilero.
Yeah, it was Idowu, but he left
Okay.
the meeting, so I'll keep an eye when he joins again. I'll ask him to speak. But over to you, Dr. Fatimah, please.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Irina. Another issue that we want to consider is the issue of research data. We've noticed from assessment of institutional repositories in Nigeria, we observed that research data is largely missing as part of the content in the IR, and including the open educational resources as well. So we observed that it may be that because researchers are not doing proper research data management practice, and because they've not been managing this data across their research lifecycle, it becomes difficult for them to come with an output, that would eventually be deposited on the repository. And so we are also saying that as part of the research assessment, it should not be just your articles or your journals. I mean, that your articles are on the repository. You should also attach your research data. And for some of us that are now into developing open educational resources, there's a call for special attention to be dedicated to OER, because it's further helping us, to help us to do our teaching, research, and learning activities better. And we are also saying that whenever there is an OER that is developed by our local researchers, that should also be part of what will be assessed, for promotion. At the moment, they don't consider all these things. And because we are not paying attention to them, researchers are not coming up with their research data. And interestingly, you could see that some of them actually repurpose other people's data, when they want to conduct their research, but they are not contributing to the same pool, of opening up their own personal data. So we are saying that research assessment should not just be on journal articles, on conference papers, but rather it should be open. And then you should also consider things, outputs, non-traditional outputs that are not being paid attention to, but are also very, very important, which is the data, research data, and open educational resources as well. And then we know that by the time all these are considered, the low content of our institutional repositories that we are always saying that we don't have content on the repository, we could use this output to further add to the contents on our repositories. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And Idowu, you raised your hand earlier.
Yeah, hi, Aina.
Hello.
Basiru, good morning from Nigeria. I'm in transit. I hope you can hear me. The network is not quite stable.
Yes, yes, we can hear you. Please carry on.
Awesome. I've enjoyed the call. You know, I have to salute my colleagues. You know, they're my colleagues, and you know, some of them partners in the open science space in Nigeria. And I must say that this is a revolutionary, job that you guys are doing, for open science within the Nigerian space. So kudos, to you guys. But the question I want to ask, I think some of them have been answered. That is on the aspect of the research assessment reforms, including making it all inclusive, taking cognizance of non-traditional, research outputs like preprints, like a OER, data, and so many other things. Okay, so I just hope that, in your work going forward, maybe I should also ask, what is the objective quantitative way that you are considering, for research assessment reform? Because if we move away from the quantitative metrics and we want to move to qualitative, hope you'll be able to have an objective scale, that can be applicable to, everybody across board, across the entire research spectrum in Nigeria. So maybe you can just speak to that. Is there any tool kind of that you are looking at, or a framework that will be objective enough to qualitatively assess research output in Nigeria? The second thing I would have loved to ask is about your group. It looks as if it is closed. Is there any plan to open it up, to other people, advocates in the Nigerian research open science space to join, to continue the work, from where, to continue the work with you where you are now. So having said that, I want to appreciate I feel, for granting this opportunity for us to learn from what these people are. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That's fine. Yes.
Thanks, Lord. Who would like to answer these two questions?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Adetomiwa. I think our group, let me start from your second question. I think that our group is open. We also emphasized this during our presentation at the last NLA conference in Port Harcourt. So the group is open. Even on our presentation then, we put a joining link there. So the group is open. Once you meet up with our requirements, you're always welcome to join us. On the assessment, I think it's high time we come up with a uniform assessment, because as it is now, I think each institution, each university has developed their own assessment for their scholars. In my own university, we have a kind of guideline they are using to assess some of these output. Excuse me. So, and they are simplified to the extent that they develop it for each faculty. So in this assessment, so we have the citation we count, the impact factor of the journals we count, then the assessment of each quality of your publications we also count. Probably before the end of this call, I will be able to share this guideline in my own institution for some of these. And this thing capture both quantitative and qualitative. So, in view of this, we'll take other questions. Then I hand over to Irina.
Thank you. Dr. Ify, please. Maybe you need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, good morning once again. I'm a member of the team. I would like to quickly share some activities that we have done in my campus, and some of them we're also proposing still. Okay, so I'll be sharing my slide.
Well, Dr. Ify is sharing her screen. Maybe a comment about your website. There is this link, join us, but it seems like it's a broken link. So maybe you can fix it. So maybe that's an impression that I do had about closed group. Maybe you need to fix.
Can you see my slide?
Yes, we can see it. Not in the presentation mode yet.
Sorry, can you see my slide?
Yes, but you have to click present because it's
okay.
not in the presentation mode. Shows it's loading.
I'm trying to make it there.
There's slideshow up. I think you should click on the slideshow up.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to, looking for it.
But
no,
maybe
slideshow.
you can try.
You can just talk to your slides. Yeah, just
Yeah,
stick to it.
Mrs. Obim,
Yeah.
Can you just, because of our time, can you just summarize maybe within 2 minutes what you have done so that we can take other Q&A because of time. Can you just summarize your activities within 2 minutes?
It's okay. My name is Ify Obim Evangel from the Department of Library and Information Science, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. I'm part of the team working on research data management. Okay, and this was to work on our early career researchers, which is being sponsored by the LipSense Early Career Program. Then, just like Dr. Sadiat said, we had to start from the top to bottom. Okay, in my school, I started engaging the principal officers on campus, including the director of research and policy units, to advocate RDM practices to them on campus. And this idea was brought by the director, and he allowed me to be able to talk to other principal officers, getting their consent to talk about RDM in our department and in the library, to a group of people. And he too bought this idea, and he was able to publish. He was able to talk to our postgraduate students on a publish or perish, research or perish, teach or perish, and everything about research. So as at now, my school management have actually bought this idea, and they're even going on to do this research faculty by faculty. Then Faculty of Biological Sciences bought this idea from the director of research, and they have equally done, a research on the wings of ethics. We're trying to, implement ethics in our departments now, in our faculties. What do we need to do? What do we need to know, on when it comes to research ethics? So my school has actually bought this idea because I've actually gone to see most of the principal officers, and they've bought this idea. So this program took place on June 4th, 2024. And going forward, I also met our DVC academics, telling him about ResearchGate, Google Scholar, and OKID importance in my school. Most lecturers don't have these facilities. They don't even know the importance of it. Even if they do, they have not actually come to implement it, even in their research publication. They don't put their ORCID numbers. And then, as a matter of fact, he also promised that he will make sure that all staff now will be expected to archive and upload all their publications online, so that during appraisals, we don't need to be carrying physical copies anymore. So we'll be uploading on our ResearchGate, on our Google Scholar. This helps us to also help us to make our publications open. Okay, so the school has actually bought this now. So we are now at the implementation stage, where we will now make sure that every appraisal year will be doing it online now. And by so doing, we are increasing our repositories. Okay, because when the staff upload their work on the net or on our repositories, it will increase our repositories and also make the staff, visible. Just like Dr. Sadiat was saying, when we do this, our repositories become uploaded, become populated with our materials, and our staff become visible, which is our aim in this program. And I also had to engage with another management officer, the provost of postgraduate studies. Okay, and he actually keyed into this program, Professor Obim Joku, and he went ahead to say that we have the opportunity to conduct research programs, research conferences, workshops for our postgraduate students. So right now, the postgraduate students, we are about holding a program online for them, because the mandate has come from the PG provost to go ahead and be teaching them. Then he himself had a training for the postgraduate students for the year 2023 academic year, where we had our orientation program for the students, and we had a lot of participants, those online and those that were physical. They all came, and the program was a success. And we're trying to make sure that going forward, whether you're physical or you're online, that you engage them in this postgraduate training. And most of the things we're telling them is about how to do their research, so that they're able to graduate in a very short period. And also talking to, from the top again, top management member of the university, I have to speak with the university librarian. I have to leverage on her platform so that we can be using the library for our workshops, for our RDM programs. And she's very, she has been very receptive, and we hope to kickstart our research events at the library. Then we also trying to engage our PG students on open science proper now, as in encourage them to have free access to materials in the library. And we are trying to see something now, because these students, most of them complain about data and everything. The library has made it, a mandate that the library must make sure that they have data. So we're encouraging data sharing so that the students can be able to have access to our materials. Then, just like somebody asked a question, can somebody join us? Yes, earlier career researchers, advocacy group. We're trying to form research groups. We're trying to promote RDM among our colleagues, among the staff, and then assist in formation of advocacy groups with regards to early career researchers. Then also encouraging cooperation and networking among the librarians, among the entire staff. By so doing, RDM UNN is being promoted, is being enhanced, is being brought to the limelight, and that's my interest, so that in UNN, open access RDM is enhanced. Thank you so much. Because of
Thank you
time,
so
I have
much.
to quickly
Thank you
round
so
up.
much, Mrs. Obim. So over to you, Arina.
Thanks a lot for sharing, Mrs. Obim. And I really like that you emphasized repositories as a place to deposit your works. And I wouldn't worry about ResearchGate because it's a commercial tool, and maybe we shouldn't be promoting it too much, but we should really emphasize that repositories are the place to deposit publications and data and should be mentioned in institutional policies. Any other questions to the team? And thank you so much once again to everyone who joined and to our colleagues from Nigeria for sharing about their work. It's very, 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 very useful. And as we saw today, every step matters, and there are different ways how you can engage on institutional level, on national level. So that was an excellent demonstration. Thank you so much. And maybe if there are no other questions, just thank you once again to everyone who spoke. And I will email slides and recording link to everyone, and see you at other IFL or LibSense events. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so